Join me this week as we put the wallpaper and ceiling paper in our room box. Stay tuned and see how easy this is to do. All right, so we're going to do the wallpapering today, like I said in the intro, and we always start with the ceiling. So for the ceiling in my room, I have this piece of cardstock. It actually has a little bit of a pearl finish, which I'm not necessarily sold on, but I thought I had more cardstock in my stash than I did. This was the only off-white piece I could find, so I'm going to use it. So my ceiling is 10 inches by 10 inches, so I cut this 10.5 by 10.5. And I scored it a 1/2 inch from two sides. So I have an area here. I have a piece of stuff on me that is 10 by 10 with a 1/2 inch scored lip. And then I cut this corner out. Now we've talked about wallpapering before on this channel, so if you need to refresh your memory on some of that stuff, go ahead and go back and check some of my other videos on that. But what we are using today is this border wallpaper paste, and this is the same container I had when I was working on the last building project we worked on, and it's still just fine. So I am going to hopefully not make too much of a mess here. I'm going to use a brush today to put this on, and I want to coat this entire back of this piece, and hopefully not get it all over my table. Then I'm going to have to move things because I'm working in kind of a small space today. I'm working on my dining room table still, and I don't have as much space on here as I have on that big craft table in the other room, but it's still kind of cold in there. Now, since our ceiling is simply a piece of foam core and we don't want it to warp, we have to do a little prep work. All right, that is covered. Be sure and wash that brush out when you're done. Put this to the side. Now I need a place to put that. I have a whole stack of ceramic tiles. These are the ceramic tiles I do clay and such on, and I've got a stack of 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. And I determined that if I stack 5 of these up, I can set my room box upside down and will completely support that. The sides don't quite come to the table, and that's what I want. Now, even on a dollhouse, do your best to turn it upside down to put the ceiling in. You will be so much happier if you're trying to work on it turned upside down. Now, hold that little lip up and work this in, getting out all your bubbles. I did not do a very good job getting that straight. That creased edge, by scoring the edge, you'll be able to get it right into the corners of your room. Make sure you have no bubbles. And then put another ceramic tile on top and put some weight on that, and then let that dry. By having that under the sandwich like that, we should eliminate any warping. So I'm going to let that dry, then I'll be back and we'll do the walls. All right, so this has actually been about 36 hours since I did it. So it's nice and dry. I did get a couple of bubbles. I didn't get my bubbles out, but that's okay. You'll want to be a little more careful. Pull these tiles out so I got a place to work, and we'll turn this right side up. Sorry about the noise. These get heavy. All right, so now we have our ceiling paper in. Now it's time to put the walls in. On this room box, it won't make as much difference because we really don't have a back of our room. If you are working on a regular room box or a dollhouse where you have 3 sides, you would do the back wall first and wrap the paper around. So we're going to pretend this is our back wall back here, and I'm going to paper it first. For paper, I want to keep this really, really neutral. So I just found some cardstock that's kind of an off-white-ish. It'll look kind of like wallpaper. So I'm going to cut this to size, and then I'll be back and we'll glue it in. All right, now I'm kind of crowded here, but hopefully I can get this so you guys can see it. So I've cut my piece of paper. This was a 12 by 12 piece of paper, by the way. I cut it the 9.5 it needs for height, and I'm just leaving the whole 12 inches. We'll trim it later. Then over here, I scored a 1/4 inch from the edge and then creased it up and really scored that. Press down on that so that that corner is really sharp. Now, we are going to get out our wallpaper paste, and I'm going to spread the entire back of this with wallpaper paste, bring the Roombox back in, and then I'll turn the camera back on so you can see what we're doing. All right, so the wallpaper paste is applied. I'm going to turn this, let me turn that side so you can see a little better and so I can weight it down. In a real dollhouse, obviously you're going to have to work vertically, and I've shown you that on other videos. Today I'm putting this room where I want it to work on it, just so it's easier for me to do, easier for you to see, and so that you can see exactly what I'm doing. Now, line this up with the ceiling. Line that crease up in the back corner and get that, make sure, not quite to the corner. You need to fold it forward. You want this 1/4 inch, it's sticking. My wallpaper paste is starting to dry under these lights. That's my problem. I'm trying to get it where you guys can see it. Come on, up. Now when you are pressing, make sure you're pressing that in there. There we go. That's all down. You want a nice straight line here. The floor line, it's not as important because we are going to put a baseboard trim in our room after we put our flooring in. Be careful when you're going across here that you don't push too hard, or more importantly, don't use a knife there because you don't want to ruin your tape line. Push this down. Now I'm going to find a book to set on this so that this can be held down flat while it dries to help prevent warping. When this is set up a little bit, I'll come back and we'll do the front wall. All right, so that's partially dry. So I'm going to let it dry the rest of the way without weight on it. Now we're going to work on the front of our building. Now this wall, for me anyway, warped. Can you guys see that? Kind of. Can I bring you out a little more? Mine warped through here, so I need to straighten that out. I'm going to do that now, a little bit. Now we've got our light fixture. We have to be really careful because we don't want to break this. So I've got some bricks I'm going to set this on top of. So I've cut another piece of paper, and this one I am going to put the paste on it, line it up with that back corner, and then lay this on some weight and put it together. So let me get the paste on the back of this and let me get everything set up, and then I'll be back and I'll show you how I'm going to arrange this so it hopefully will take the warp out. All right, I've got my wallpaper paste applied, and what I've done, I've stacked 2 stacks of bricks. I have bricks around that I use for weights in various projects, and I've got my light fixture. Can we see? Yeah, kind of. I'm putting my light fixture between the bricks. Be really careful that it's in this free space. Now let's get this wallpaper over here. Now the main thing here is you want to make sure that you line up the ceiling line again and that back corner. Get it smoothed down, and then I'm going to put a book. I have a cookbook sitting here. I'm going to put that on there. And I may decide I want more weight on it. Make sure everything is lined up the way I want it. And I think I'll go find another brick and put on top of here, and then I'll let this dry. When it dries, hopefully by the time it dries, it will take out any of that bend. If I feel like my back wall is starting to warp a little bit, I'll flip this around for a little while, weight down the back side, and go back and forth until both walls are completely dry. Then I'll be back. All right, I don't think my paste is quite dry, but I think we're dry enough. I can show you how this is going. I got another brick, put on top of this book, and that has allowed my wallpaper to help flatten my wall. It's a little bumpy. It should flatten out as it dries, and my wall is pretty much flat. Now I'll show you how we're going to trim this. Once the paste dries, it's really simple. You just run your knife along the edge of your wall. Be really careful when you get down to your tape wire though. Do not slit that tape wire. So off camera, I am going to finish the top. Move you guys up. I'll put wallpaper up here in the top section. I'll trim this off. And that's it for this week. Next week, we will install the ceiling light. I hope you found this helpful. Be sure and check the Facebook page and the blog, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.